Among the U.S. Supreme Court decisions this week was a ruling that ended the consideration of race in college admission processes. And reading from his concurring opinion, Justice Clarence Thomas said that affirmative action programs, quote, fly in the face of our colorblind Constitution and our nation's equality ideal, end quote. It's a powerful statement. So how should we as Christians consider this decision from a biblical standpoint? Well, joining me now to discuss this is Bishop Garland Hunt. He's the senior pastor of the Father's House in Norcross, Georgia. Bishop Hunt, welcome back to Washington Watch. Always great to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, Congressman. Good to see you. It's always good to be with you.
Well, thank you so much. All right, let's just begin with the question that I just suggested. How should we as Christians biblically consider the Supreme Court's decision regarding affirmative action?
Well, it's a great question, and I know that there's going to be a lot of diversity of thought as it relates to this, but I have to start off from a commitment to a biblical worldview. First of all, the Bible has to override everything, and the Constitution is aligned with the scriptures. So when you look at this and you see the situation, you say, well, if people want equality, and I want to be clear, certainly there were things in our history that made things uneven, had issues of race, we had issues of educational problems and disparities. But the disparities alone can't make us use any kind of means to try to bring what they call equity. Equality is something that the Bible talks about very specifically. I've looked at it. There's over 100 actually scriptures that talk about equality. There's an expectation for that. One of the scriptures that's so very important is unequal weights and unequal measures are both alike. In other words, if you're trying to get the weights, so you're trying to do that, but you're going to measures are unequal or evil. It said both of it are abomination to God. So we have to be very clear that God believes in equity. The Bible talks about how he created all men equal, after his likeness and after his image. So equality is important in the things of the Lord, but you cannot do it by different measures that cause discrimination that brings other discrimination. So this was something I think is very, very important to understand. And sometimes, particularly being African American, it does challenge us because it seems like it gave us an upper hand. But ultimately, what it does is it still brings a situation where you use it trying to fix discrimination by discriminating against somebody else. And I just don't see God blessing that.
Extremely well said. When you look at some of the social media posts, the commentaries and so forth that are coming from a host of others, as you alluded to, not everyone's going to agree with you on what you just said. So let's reach out, if you will, Bishop, to some of those pastors who may disagree with what you're saying. What would you say to those pastors who disagree?
Well, I've been thinking about it a lot, Jody, in this regard, because we are fighting for religious liberty. And most people but pastors would have to agree that we need the freedom to preach the gospel without any hindrance. But, we have a whole nother group, depending on where they believe, LGBTQ, they're saying they're being discriminated against. So they're using discrimination to try to back down our religious freedom. So anybody's got to understand that you can use the very thing, if you begin to use it outside of scripture or outside of the weights, another group can come in and say, we're being discriminated against. That's just what happened at Harvard. Harvard, the Asians, not the whites, the Asians are saying, you're discriminating against me because we have the same qualifications and better, but you're choosing someone simply because of race. I tell you what, I would like to say as a Black man, I'd rather be chosen because of my merit. I want to be chosen because of my scholastic ability, my academia, and I'm willing to go to blow with anybody, no matter what their race. And I don't even want the stain of feeling that maybe I was chosen because of race, but not qualified because of my character or my attributes that relate to my thinking and abilities to succeed.
Extremely well said. I mentioned this a while ago. Let me just bring it up again. The statement that Justice Clarence Thomas said I thought was so powerful. He said that affirmative action programs fly in the face of our colorblind Constitution and our nation's equality ideal. It sounds like really that's what you're saying. That is reality, is it not?
It absolutely is. And let me just say about this. Now, many people, when they hear that statement, they're immediately going to say, well, our nation has not properly used the Declaration of Independence in the sense or the Constitution in a colorblind way, but they have been able to use it to deny opportunities for blacks. So what has had to happen is blacks have had to try to overcompensate. But see, now we cannot allow this to begin to defend ourselves. Now here we are, decades later. Centuries later, and now we're saying that no, still prefer us. At some point, that had to be a cutoff because the way it went about is wrong. The outcome seems to be better, but the measures to get to the outcome were wrong, and now it's turned against us. At some point, blacks, even the more liberal, progressive blacks, must have to admit that now is the time to make a difference, and we must declare that we have to be equal no matter what, but not choose measures that hurt us.
Bishop Garland Hunt, thank you so much. Extremely articulate and spot on. We are grateful for you joining us this evening on Washington Watch.
Thank you very much. Good to be here, Joey.